gentlemen. I'm Curtis Round, and welcome to Final Take. Joining me on the debate desk tonight is Adam Yurkovsky, and Jocelyn Pomplin is taking the night off, so we got Marty Kaufman in here. Marty, good to have you. Well, guys, it's Halloween this weekend. Any big plans coming up for Saturday and Friday?
Well, I mean, Halloween, it's a big party usually in the U.S. here. I'm not doing much though, sadly. I mean, I'm going to be broadcasting the game with you, so that's about the highlight of my weekend.
You got a costume at all that you might be bringing out on Saturday?
I'm not a costume guy. I don't dress up.
I got to find a costume yet, but my plan is to get a costume and maybe go get some candy later.
Well, all righty, this guy's getting candy. I don't know about that, but I'm going to be actually going as me and my girlfriend were doing a little Bonnie and Clyde, a costume duet there, so that should be interesting. Well, let's get right into it tonight and talk some sports here. We got a Pointers update, and then later on we'll discuss the NFL along with the MLB playoffs. This past weekend, the Pointers football team took on UW La Crosse in the WEAC conference battle. The Pointers were looking to get back on track, and after a tough loss this week, before to Platteville, and they did just that. The Pointers were down at half, 17-10 against UW La Crosse, but were able to once again rebound in the second half as they scored 14 unanswered points to go on to beat the Eagles 24-17. Now, looking ahead, do you guys think the game plan needs to change for this Pointers offense to get going in the first half and not having these comeback wins?
I think it needs to change a little bit. I mean, they're not doing anything really in the first half much. They're not scoring much. But when I talked to Jernell earlier in the year, when the season first started, he told me they have this process that they work on. If they keep following the process, they're going to win. And they're 6-1, so I don't know how much of the game plan you're going to change. I mean, you're winning. You have 6 wins to 1 loss, so you're doing something right.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree with you there. I think it needs to change. I think that you can't just every single game, especially at the end of the season here when you're fighting for a playoff spot, you can't go into every game with the same exact game plan with how you've started off the rest of the year behind teams every game. I mean, we have Oshkosh coming up here. That's going to be a tough game. You've got Whitewater next week. That's going to be a tough game. And Stout, for some reason, always plays tough against the Pointers, so that's going to be tough in itself. I mean, it's a conference game. So I think it needs to change a little bit, and I think they need to come out a little more fiery in the first half.
Before you jump in there, Marty, I think I'm kind of on both sides. I think you kind of want to stick to what you're good at and stick to your guns and what your game plan was going into this season. But you also need to adapt to what the teams and defenses are presenting you with. And they've struggled. I mean, there's definitely a problem. It's no secret. They cannot get anything going in the first half. And this last game, they did score some points, but it's still the struggle. They have the opportunities. They get on the other opponent's side of the field, and they just can't find a way to score, and something definitely does need to change.
Well, I mean, yeah, you guys said it too. That you have to adjust during the game, you have to have a different game plan going every week because you're playing a different opponent. But I think too is that you're winning, but get that running game going a little bit. You got 3 guys back there that can run the ball. I mean, why not start? They try and do that all the time. Start off running the ball and open up the passing game.
Yeah, and you say about the running game, besides last game, they really haven't been able to get anything going in the first half with the running game. So, and it's not like they haven't tried getting the running game going. I mean, the game before last, they had 39 attempts and 25 rushing yards for the whole game. So that's a lot of carries and little yards. So, I mean, the game plan definitely needs to change. I mean, if you look at the Pointers as a team, they're set up around that defense. And so their defense has really kept them in it for all 4 quarters of the games they've played. And so I think it's an offensive scheme. I mean, Jernell, he's a defensive guy. He's not going to change that defense, and I don't think he should. But the offense needs to change it up, especially the offense. I mean, I think they need to get electrified a little bit more, and they can't stick to just their game plans they've stuck to because they haven't been electrifying at all.
So you say that electrifying. They've done trick plays, and most of those trick plays haven't really worked out the best.
But hold the phone here. If you go back, I want to say almost probably 70% of those trick plays did work, and that's what really got this offense going was those trick plays, and we've talked about it. Every game, it was a trick play that got the offense going. Yeah. And I agree with you. The electrifying trick play or the gadget plays, it needs to happen, but you can't have that as a center of your offense to get going, and that's the problem we're trying to discuss here.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe stretch the field a little bit with some deep plays or even just spreading it out more. I mean, Kyle Larson struggled this year with even just like the short and intermediate routes, but how about stretching the field a little more? Take some shots deep early to get a big play.
They have the guys to do it. They got Sosinski, Payne, Kellen Wallace to go deep.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of the offense, Kyle Larson and the offense has been struggling to get moving early on. Larson went 8 for 22 on the day with a touchdown and 4 interceptions. He had made some good plays when he needed to, but once again was unable to make the easy throws. Larson did end up leaving the game early with an ankle injury, and rumors were spiraling that he is in a boot right now, and we really don't know what the situation is there. He might not be able to play this weekend, so that's very big. And speaking of that, Nuernberg did execute very well in the read option offensive scheme that looked almost more effective than the original offense did against La Crosse. With Kyle Larson injured, status unknown right now, do you guys think Nuernberg can lead this charge and beat Oshkosh this weekend?
I think he can. I mean, how much film is on the guy right now that Oshkosh has? Probably not much. I mean, he's not a thrower like Larson, so the offense is going to change a little bit. I mean, you saw it, 3 throws, but they ran the ball with him in the second half. So their offense is going to, like we said, doesn't need to change. It's going to change a little bit more. It's going to be more focused on running, I think. I mean, but he has receivers. We just talked about the 3 earlier. He has receivers to work with. He's a veteran. He's a third year, so he isn't a freshman or a young guy coming in. He's played in games prior to this season, so I think they can have a chance with him.
Yeah, and I think he can lead the charge, but the question is ultimately, will he? And I'm hesitant to say because they're going to have to game plan around him now as a quarterback. And, you know, when he was running the offense this last weekend, it was like they were running the Tim Tebow style offense. You know, a lot of read option plays. Even his passes, it was a lot of read option plays. So I think teams are going to game plan for that. I don't know how far the read option will take them. It worked well against La Crosse, but I just don't know. We haven't seen a lot from him for passing, so we'll see a lot from him this next weekend.
Yeah, and passing the ball, I don't think we're going to see that at all. I think it's dependent on that offensive line because we are going to see the run game, and we need to know if they can hold up and create holes for them. And I think that will be the true test for this team going forward because this guy can't really throw the ball. And I don't mean to throw him down or anything, but he has. I mean, we haven't really seen anything yet. 2 or 3 passes completing that game, so not really high on the passing game for Nuernberg.
But then he has to be a game-managing type quarterback. You have to make the safe throws. Don't force turnovers. Keep the ball moving. Hold on to the ball. Don't force the ball, and you have a good chance to win.
Well, gentlemen, there's another concern for the Pointers as well on the year, and it's been that running game. It's been extremely ineffective for the most part, and that was kind of the expectation coming in this last game. However, DeJuan Wright and the Pointers running answered the bell. Finally, as the Pointers put up 176 yards on the ground, DeJuan Wright led the team with 137 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. With such a solid outing by the run game, do the Pointers need to mirror that going forward? And I think we kind of answered that, so I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit. I think they need to run the ball. Nuernberg coming in, he can't really pass the ball, so if he's the one to start, get that run game going. Well, in the past few games, it's been a poor rushing performance, and it was as poor for the La Crosse team. Do you think going forward, let's jump to the defense here. The La Crosse was held just to 10 points on offense. 7 of their 17 total points came off a pick 6. Zach Velasky again led the defense as he collected 7 total tackles, and he had a very crucial interception on the day. Aaron Carlin improved his sack total as he had 1 on the day and had multiple quarterback hits. Guys, this defense has been just clicking on all cylinders lately, and it showed once again in this game. Can they get something going and hopefully push them into the playoffs here?
I think their best players are all on defense, to be honest. I mean, you got playmakers going everywhere. You got Dan Brown, you got Carlin, Bo Seibel, Velasky, Longmire, Kontowicz. These guys are keeping this team alive every single week. They're forcing turnovers. They're holding teams in the second half to almost 0 points. Defense wins championships, and this defense is the reason why this team is 6-1.
Yeah, you stole the words out of my mouth there, but I mean, with how they've been able to scheme for teams, I mean, and they've got the talent to do multiple things, do multiple schemes on defense. And the main thing I like from this defense is the pass rush. Every week it's someone different, whether it's Dan Brown, whether it's Kontowicz, whether it's Bo Seibel getting in there, whether it's Aaron Carlin, who's been a monster the last few games. I think their defense, the sky's the limit for them. Deion Jones has proven he can be a lockdown corner, and Michael Longmire has really stepped it up too. So I think the sky's the limit with that defense, and of course it helps to have a guy like Zach Velasky out there who has looked really good all year long, and he's a senior captain. So.
Well, now the Pointers' next game is this Saturday. They're going up against UW-Oshkosh, who's 3-4. Game's at 1 o'clock, and this will be a military appreciation game. So Pointers, make sure you come out in support for the military. You guys, who wins this game? Is it Oshkosh or the Pointers, and why?
I'm going to go with the Pointers. I think this defense right now, they're keeping these guys alive. I mean, Oshkosh, they're 3-4, but they do have 3-4 wins, and I think it's 3 wins in the WEAC. I think Stevens Point comes out with it's going to be a close game again. I think they're going to maybe fall behind a little bit, but this defense is carrying them, and I think they can win this. They're going to edge this one out.
If Kyle Larson were 100% going to be out there, I would say the Pointers. But if you look at Oshkosh as a team, who they've played, and how tough they've played against opponents. Last week they had Whitewater, and they lost 24-7. That was a very, very deceitful score. They were only a few yards behind Whitewater as a total offense, and they held Whitewater to not that many yards on offense. So I think Oshkosh can beat the Pointers, and I think they will. I think it's going to be close, but if Nuernberg's out there, I just don't see the Pointers winning right now because he doesn't have the experience as a starter. I know he's a third-year guy, but I don't think he has the experience as a starting quarterback in this league to get the job done against a team like Oshkosh who's played such tough opponents.
And I'll say this too, this game is make or break, I think, for the Pointers. You have to win this game. If not, I think their playoff hopes go severely down to almost no chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't even know why we're even questioning that. They have to win out, even get a playoff spot in. It starts with this game. And Adam, I'm shocked you went by with this score. You would like to steal my thunder because I thought I'd be the only one going with Oshkosh, but I don't really know right now. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't know what we're going to get out of Nuernberg, and I don't know what the Oshkosh is going to get out of it. So I really am up in the air on this one, and I'll have a decider by Saturday. I'll just say that.
And that's a good thing and bad thing, that you don't know what you're going to get with Nuernberg. I mean, he can confuse probably Oshkosh, or Oshkosh will just handle him.
Well, let's jump to Division I college football. The playoff rankings were released this week. As of right now, it looks like Mississippi State is ranked number 1, Florida State at number 2, Auburn at number 3, Ole Miss at number 4, and in the hunt, at number 5 is Oregon, and number 6 is Alabama. How do you guys feel about the rankings? And we'll start with that one right now. What do you feel about the rankings so far?
I think they got it right pretty close. The 3 SEC teams, they're the best conference, but we have to realize this. 2 of them are playing this weekend, and Alabama is creeping in on that. And I think they got this poll right. Ole Miss beat Alabama, so therefore Alabama's out. But I thought it was a very solid 4 to start off.
Yeah, I would say the top 6 they got right. I mean, overall, if you're asking me how the committee did, I think they choked a little bit on a few teams, and that's just my personal opinion. I think they could have done a better job just looking at the teams and really analyzing them better. I mean, I just think that they put teams like TCU at number 7, and I think with how they've struggled on the year, I think that was a reach for them. I mean, they gave up, 55 points to Baylor, and then they gave up around 40 points to Oklahoma. I mean, they won against Oklahoma, but Baylor beat them. So I think that was a little bit of a reach to put them up there and then not to have Baylor ahead of them.
I do think Oregon might have been a little surprised ahead of maybe Alabama. I mean, they lost at home to Arizona. I mean, Alabama lost on the road at Ole Miss. So, I mean, that's kind of thing. But I can see where you're mad at Notre Dame. They're at, 10?
10, yeah.
1 loss to Florida State. But, I mean, they played close. But, I mean, who have they played besides maybe Stanford? So, I think K-State and TCU get that push a little bit because they played Oklahoma in that Big 12. That Big 12 is kind of tough. I mean, you got Baylor, West Virginia in there. I mean, those teams are competing. So, I think the polls is kind of right. But look for Michigan State, TCU, K-State. If they keep winning, they might sneak into that
Marty,
floor.
you jump into that, and that's my next question. Who might sneak into the playoff at the end of the season?
I'm going to Midwest. I'm going to stick with it. Michigan State. That conference is theirs for the taking, and it's really no one else's by a mile, I think. I think that team is clicking on all cylinders, and I think they have the easiest route to win out their conference compared to the SEC, Pac-12, and Big 12. So I think they went out. They're in the 4. Those teams ahead of them are all going to lose at least some point.
The thing is, I've got to say Notre Dame. If they went out and take care of business in their schedule here, and they went out and they showed people that they can play mistake-free football, because against Florida State, they didn't really turn the ball over as much as they did against teams like North Carolina or Syracuse, and they struggled in those games, and that's why the committee, gave them a little bump up the ladder there. But I think if they take care of business the second half and take care of that football, I think they sneak in because of how tough they played against Florida State. And I think their defense is a really good defense. So I think they've got a complete team.
I'll say this, though, kind of a little bit of a bold prediction. There will be 2 SEC teams in that Final Four. They're probably both coming from the West, unless an SEC East team wins that conference title game.
It's inevitable.
So I think that hurts any Pac-12, Big 12, Big 10, Notre Dame team if 2 SEC West teams. Probably
I'm wondering, Johnson's offset here tonight, but I bet you he's fretting over that decision you think with your bias on Notre Dame. So give him a little shout out there. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we got some NFL news. Stay tuned.
My name is Julia Flaherty. I'm the current promotions director at SBTV. My job allows for me to have a lot of personal creative direction because that is the team environment that we instill here at SBTV. This past summer, I had the opportunity to write for hercampus.com as well as thedailyquirk.com. Personally, I feel that being involved with SBTV has really helped boost my confidence and my ability to network with other students. If student media is something that interests you, and even if you're not really sure what student media means, you should stop by our studios. We are looking forward to having you involved this year, and we cannot wait to make media with you.
Stevie Pointer loves SPTV News and the News' producers. Watch SPTV News weekly for breaking, campus, and local news across Stevens Point. Only on Charter Channel 983.
The Love Doctor is in. Watch SBTV's new series featuring college dating advice, love confessions, and more. Michaela Hilgert is The Love Doctor. Watch the new series premiering this fall on SBTV Charter Channel 983.
The Packers had a huge matchup this past weekend as they went up against a struggling New Orleans Saints team. However, it wasn't the Saints that struggled, it was the Packers. It was a game that featured two high-flying offenses, and the only question was which defense would step up and under the lights and stop their opponents. The Saints rose to the challenge as the Packers' measly defense sunk under the water. The Saints threw all over the Packers as Drew Brees looked to be back to his old self as he led the Saints to a 44-23 victory over the Pack. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good for the most of the night despite two interceptions that weren't his fault, but he did have a hamstring injury that is a strain, and that's concerning. He still played efficiently, but was unable to do enough to get the job done. Eddie Lacy also ran the ball well, but it was ultimately not as good as Mark Ingram of the Saints. The question of the year for the Packers has been whether or not this defense would rise to the occasion this year, and after playing a tough offense for once, they showed their true colors, especially as the run defense is concerned. With the Packers falling to 5-3, they now go into their bye. What do you guys think is the main focal point this team should be focusing on going into the bye?
Main focus point for me is get healthy. You got Aaron Rodgers banged up, but he performed. I mean, he threw the ball well still, but got him, Sam Shields, Morgan Burnett in that secondary. I think they were missed dearly in that game a little bit. I mean, they picked on Devon House all game. And then Dayton Jones, TJ Lang, they're banged up. These guys are all starters, and they're pretty key parts to this whole team. So I think they got to get healthy for this bye week. And that's basically their main focal point besides run defense.
Yeah, I'd say get healthy, but also get motivated. I mean, you just got shellacked 44-23 on national television. You've got to start a fire this week and just focus on what you need to do to not let that happen again.
Yeah, I would just say get healthy. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, that injury slowed him down. It was evident out there. They had to switch up the game plan a little bit there, but I mean, I would just say get healthy. You want to fire back?
Yeah, I mean, you say get motivated. I think they're motivated. I think that would have been a huge win, but it's not a crushing loss. It's not like a more demoralizing loss. I mean, that's a tough place to play. And they were playing a very desperate Saints team to win, and I mean, was it like 20 games in a row they've won in prime time at home? So I mean, that's not a demoralizing loss. I think what's demoralizing is they had chances in that game. I mean, you got that game, you knew it was going to be a shootout, so you got to score touchdowns. They didn't score touchdowns. That's kind of what happened.
Before you jump in, I don't know how you don't say it demoralizing. Aaron Rodgers got injured, wasn't himself. They lost, and the Lions won.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that the Lions won makes that loss a little bit tougher to swallow because the Lions came back and won. So, I mean, you're a game out going into the bye. But Aaron Rodgers got hurt. But it wasn't it's not a season-ending injury, so that's not as demoralizing. He still played, and he came out and said, I'll play against the Bears. So it was just a nagging injury that night, which affected his play the rest of the night.
I think it's very demoralizing, especially with how well they looked on camera 3 weeks prior to the Saints game. And I think that just the fact that their defense wasn't able to rise to this challenge was just, I mean, that would be demoralizing to me if I'm the Packers players right now, to see how my defense played against a team like the Saints, knowing there's tough games coming up down the road against the Lions, the Patriots. I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow for the Packers. I think that they need to just focus in, get motivated, and I think they need to do a lot better.
I just don't see it as a demoralizing loss. I think you look at that schedule coming into the season. You saw Seattle and New Orleans at prime time on the road. That's where I would come with. It would have been a huge win. It would have been 6-2 going to the bye. That's very good for starting 1-2. They're 5-3 after going 1-2. You'll take that. You're motivated still to win. I mean, you got to win at least 5. You have to win at least 10 or 11 games to make the playoffs, and they're on track. They have a pretty favorable schedule moving forward.
Yeah, I would say it would have been demoralizing. Packers got lucky of this bye week. They really did. If they didn't have this bye week, I don't care what he says over here. It would have been demoralizing. Aaron Rodgers can say all he wants. He still would have been in pain going in that Bears game if it was this week. So we're going to leave it at that right there. Actually, and the Packers have a very pivotal game coming up. They will be facing the Bears. It is a big game. We don't really need to talk about it. I mean, it's obvious. It's a divisional matchup. They're always a good game, and Cutler does what he does best, throws interceptions. The Packers usually win. Okay, well, let's move on. There's NFL features some pretty exciting matchups. The Panthers and Saints take on each other in NFC battle on a Thursday night game, and then we got Tom Brady going up against Peyton Manning. I believe that's it's at the Gillette Stadium. It's a home game for the Patriots there, so that's a big matchup. You also got the Cardinals taking on the Cowboys, I believe, this weekend. And then you got the Ravens also going up against the Steelers, and that's always a bloodbath, and that always goes down at the end. Out of those games, which ones are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I'm going to let Adam go first because I know Patriots-Broncos is his pick.
And that's the game. I mean, who isn't looking forward to that? I mean, it's the 16th time Peyton Manning and Tom Brady have ever met, and every game it comes down to some dramatic finish between the two, besides last year's playoff game against Brady and the Patriots. But I think the Broncos going into the Gillette Stadium, they're very hot right now. And the Patriots coming off that shellacking of the Bears, they're pretty high right now. So it's two high teams going to go butt heads at Gillette Stadium, and it can't get better than that.
Before you jump in here, let me say something. They needed to have a flex schedule for this week. This game should be a Sunday night football matchup. Ravens-Steelers, it was 26-6 last time they played in September. It was a blowout. Is it going to be a close game probably this time? Yeah, but they should have slid that one down to the 4 o'clock, put that one up to the Sunday night game. And you talk about Tom Brady's been playing well, Peyton Manning's been playing well. It's a big test for both teams right now.
I mean, you say that. I think they are in flex, but I think CBS might have protected the game to get ratings, obviously, because Brady versus Manning is probably the greatest individual rivalry in the last 20 years maybe in sports, and it's the biggest debate. Who's the better one of the two? I mean, you got Manning with his stats, his MVPs, his records, and you got Brady with all his Super Bowls. I mean, it comes down to which side are you on with these two, and it's always a great matchup to see every year because they deliver every year.
And Marty, what game are you looking forward to most this
my
weekend?
game, obviously, first choice would be Patriots-Broncos. That's everyone's choice. My second game is the Cowboys and the Cardinals. These two teams, they've come out of nowhere, kind of, you could say. And I think Cardinals are 6-1 or 7-1. They have 1 loss. Cowboys have 2 losses coming off Monday night. Tony Romo, is he healthy or not? But this game will set who's in charge of the NFC, I think, at the top, record-wise. I don't think these two teams might be the best teams in the NFC at the end of the season, but right now they are the 2 best teams, so it's the biggest game in the NFC right now. And
you guys know what I'm going to say. It's obvious. It's going to be the Panthers-Saints matchup tomorrow. Grub match. 2 bad teams that are leading or tied for their division lead right now. I think Carolina has the upper hand with that tie, but I think that's going to be a big game. It's really going to decide who wins that division. I think it's going to be the decider this week. Well, with all that, we will take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we will talk about the World Series. Stay tuned.
Serving a campus of 9,600 strong, we are the home of UWSP Television. We are SPTV. You can find us on Charter Channel 983, online, or on any of our social media sites.
The following broadcast is brought to you by SPTV, your #1 leader in UWSP athletic coverage.
Let's go to a World Series update now. The World Series between the Royals and Giants went back to Kansas City last night as the Giants went into the game leading the series 3-2. The Royals weren't throwing in the cards though just yet, as they shut out the Giants 10-0. Last night, ultimately, what did you guys think of the game? And let's just go with that first. What did you think of the game last night, Marty? Was this a revival for this Royals team?
I think it's a revival. You're down Game 6. You lose. You're done at home. They came out. They were backed against the wall. They came out firing on all cylinders. 7 runs in the second inning. Win 10-0. That sets the tone for tonight, Game 7. That hey, we're going to take you all the way to this end of the series to win it. So I mean, home field. I mean, they might be they're a little bit ahead now with the momentum, I think, after last night's game.
If you're the Giants, what a missed opportunity for them. They're coming into this game up 3-2, all the momentum in the world. They just took care of business at home, and they go into Kansas City and they let the crowd get right into it in the second inning and allow 7 runs. How do you do that? And how does Jake Peavy, a guy who they paid all that money, come in there and throw a game like that? That was awful.
I mean, I gotta agree with you on that. I mean, he was in the World Series last year. He's been in the postseason. I mean, now the pressure's on Bochy, because now all the pressure's on playing Bumgarner. I mean, he pitched on Sunday. He's going to go on about 3 days rest. Are they going to have him be in the bullpen and ready to pitch? Because he wouldn't have that problem. He have another World Series ring right now, and he wouldn't have to worry about playing Bumgarner tonight.
Hold on here. Let's jump into the end of the result for the World Series. I saw this article online. I really liked how they put this. You make your decision. Is this a dynasty or is this a destiny? Who wins this game?
I'm going to go with the Giants. I think this team right now, they've been elimination games under Bruce Bochy. They don't lose. They come out and they win. I think this team finds a way to win.
You got a score?
Score. We're going to go with 5-4. It's going to be close. I think tonight, because this World Series hasn't been a memorable World Series. This has gone to 7 games now. What can you remember from this World Series so far? It's only Mass and Bumgarner being dominant in 2 games. Other than that, it's been blowouts. So San Francisco, I think, gets the edge because I think Bumgarner will be pitching tonight. And Tim Hudson, biggest game of his career, I think he's going to come in. This is his biggest moment, and he's ready for it.
Yeah, well, if you look at the Giants, they're actually 0-6 in final deciding games in the World Series as an organization. So I'm going to stick to history. I love history. I'm going to go with the Royals. You know, I was on the Giants. You know, I thought they could do it. But after last night, who's going to take away the atmosphere at Kansas City tonight?
You know what, Adam? It's about time someone jumps on the bandwagon along with me. The Royals win this one, I think. Hands down. It's just a Cinderella story. It's got to happen. But let's go into one more little note that we saw coming up here before the show. Cubs making a big signing today. It looks like the Cubs are getting Joe Madden as their manager. What do you, as a Brewers fan, I know you're a big Brewers fan, Mark, what do you think of this, and what is this going forward say for the Cubs?
I'll tell you what, this team in 4 years, I don't think they're going to be talking about a curse anymore. This guy, have you seen that lineup full of young guys? That lineup is going to be loaded. The thing they will need to do is they might have to part ways with 1 or 2 of those pieces. So they'll have to get some pitching, but that team's going to be scary in 4 years.
I love Joe Madden. He's a great manager, great coach, but have the Cubs ever done anything with the hope they've been given the last decade? I don't think so.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for today. We thank everyone for tuning in with us. I'd like to thank Marty Kaufman and Adam Yurkowski for joining me on their debate desk with their insightful opinions. Thanks, guys. And a big thanks to our technical staff and all their hard work to make this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SPTV UWSP Television or follow us on Twitter at SPTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointers athletic information. We will be doing the live broadcast this weekend, so make sure you tune in that. We'll have the link up on Facebook. And remember, fellow Pointers, here at Final Take, anything Pointers, anything sports. I'm Curtis Round, this is Adam Yurkowski and Justin Pomplin. If you enjoy our Final Take show, make sure you tune in every week to stay up to date on Stevens Point sports. Remember, Pointers, anything sports.